Hello, Dale.
All right. What's going on, guys?
Nothing much, chilling.
Good.
Nothing much. May I introduce you to Karl Wasson?
Nice to meet you.
Wasson?
Yeah, Austin.
He is the managing editor, editorial director.
Oh,
Of Stridewise.
Stridewise?
Yeah.
Really cool. Right on. Well, congratulations and nice to meet you, sir.
Back at you.
Yeah. Karl is the living proof that the running the website is actually an extraordinary amount of work that most people who have seen me on YouTube and Instagram don't know exist. And,
Right.
and yet,
There it is.
that is where it all goes down. Yeah.
I believe it. A lot of people underestimate just how much work goes into the videos too. You know what I mean? They think it's like, oh, you just film a cut and then you post it. It's like, no, I put a good 10 hours into each video that I release. So
Oh,
1 hour for each minute, basically. So I know you outsource some of your editing, but there's just so much going on. And then you got to make the thumbnail, then you got to pick the title, then you got to throw in the links.
That's true. And Karl actually has nothing to do with any of that. Karl,
no, just website.
Carl's a very full-time worker guy for Stridewise, but he doesn't have anything to do with the video side because
Okay.
mostly because all my video stuff is very disorganized, and getting a video put together depends largely on having a knowledge of everything that's been filmed over the last 7 years and what random folder it's hiding in and stuff.
Right.
So it's hard to outsource. We're figuring some stuff out. We filmed some stuff here in Vietnam actually, and Carl was involved
Learn.
in some of that. Yeah, so we're trialing him, managing some of the video editing.
Very cool. Well,
It's actually
Kyle,
yeah,
why don't you share some of your background then? Were you a writer before, or did you just come on with Nick recently? Or
kind of a strange background. So I've lived overseas for about 13 years now. So China and Vietnam, where I'm based at the moment. Before that, lived in Chicago, came over here, worked in the outdoor industry. So did like taking kids on like climbing trips and backpacking. Did that in China up until actually a few years ago, and then got into software development. So
oh
building
wow,
mobile phone apps, web app, and then web apps, and then working with Nick, doing editing, writing. I've kind
okay.
of always written. I've enjoyed it. It's always been a fun thing. So
And
Carl even actually sold boots for a while, right?
yeah, back in Chicago when I was in university and just got out, I worked at a mountain outfitter in Chicago and sold boots, sold climbing shoes, sold trail running shoes, that sort of stuff. So
okay,
yeah, how I got into it all.
Yeah, it's really handy. Carl has good editorial skills and very good tech website management skills, and also happens to have a background in like not just like selling boots, but also like he had his own like outdoor tourism company
Yeah,
for a while. He has a good understanding of like what ages, what's very durable. Sorry, or the different sorts of natural and unnatural ways of waterproofing stuff,
yeah, yeah.
and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, no, it's a really good match.
yeah, that's a really good fit, especially if you're an outdoorsman and adventurer. That really lends itself to like the boot world. You know what I mean? Because a lot of guys that collect, we don't just want to wear them to the office. We want to actually, put them to the trails. So
Right, toys, right? Like,
Well,
yeah,
it's in there too.
yeah.
Yeah, the only downside is that Carl lives in friggin' Vietnam, so it's a little bit hard to to manage work with him in a different city and complete opposite time zone. There could not be a less convenient time zone, but
Stridewise is a 24-hour operation.
that's right.
That's how I
Yeah,
like to look at
the
it.
sun never sets
Yeah,
on the
sun never
Stridewise
sets on the
Empire.
Stridewise
Yeah.
it truly is. I mean, how do you manage all of it? Because it never does go to sleep, right? You go to sleep, you wake up, people have been watching videos all night, commenting, things come up like, on my end, I get orders usually in the middle of the night coming through. It's like, yeah, it's never, you're never off anymore. There's always somebody pinging you for something. So,
Did you say someone in India for something? Is that what you said?
Pinging you.
Oh, pinging you. Yeah, yeah.
oh yeah, pinging me. Yeah.
Carl and I actually were just in India for work, actually. So I thought you were making reference to that.
Yeah. Oh, no, no. Very cool. But yeah, talk to me about that before we get to Vietnam. Tell me about India. You went and visited my friends at Craft and Glory, correct?
I did visit Crafts Glory, yeah, real quick. Yeah, so Carl, unfortunately, his name is Karl, by the way, Karl. I think
Oh.
you might have thought it was Kyle because of my accent. It's a terrible accent, and no one knows what I'm saying.
Okay, Karl, good to know. Sorry about that. My mistake.
No, it's fine.
No, it's my fault. Karl had a trip to Cambodia planned at the time, so he wasn't able to join me for most of the India trip. But he did come along for the end of it in Calcutta. But no, it was great. Because I came out to Vietnam for like a month or two just to work with Karl. Karl's been working with me for many months, and we're sort of doing this thing where we meet in, we just decide places to work together around the world. And I just thought I'd come to Vietnam. And since I was in Vietnam, the Indian boot brands that I have been talking to here and there, I got wind of it and decided that they should bring me out. So initially it was, I would say it's largely because of Blackbird. The Indian brand, they are based in Agra, which is a few hours south of Delhi, driving. And yeah, I've met the guys. I guess he's the CEO or the co-founder of Blackbird a few times in New York and in Boston. Yeah, and when he knew I was here, he said you should come out, visit the factory, because flights are like $100, $200 from Ho Chi Minh City. So it's actually pretty easy to do. Yeah, and then one thing led to another, and I was going to Blackbird and I was going to Bridlin Shoes in Chennai, and I stopped by Craft and Glory in Gurgaon, and I went to Lucknow and Calcutta to see Toramali, which is a brand so small they don't even have a website. So it was, so I couldn't even direct people to go there.
Oh wow!
But it's still a pretty cool multi-city operation in India. His whole thing is like tattooing shoes and doing painting and he's like, it's cool. Apparently India has like an especially for Desh, whereas factories has like a long history of painting leather. It's like a cultural historic thing. So he was trying to bring that to shoes. So it was really fun. It was a lot of work.
Fun, yeah.
Good God, it was a lot. It was like they had a London trunk show, the one that your viewers might be familiar with, that Jay Fitzpatrick and a few of those other guys put together. I think Kirby Allison has something to do with it. There's like a trunk show in London that just happened. So all the brands Blackbird and Bridlin were going. They all had to. So we had I had like 7 days, 10 days to do 6 cities in India, and it was a nightmare. But fortunately, I didn't get sick, and we managed to get it all done. And Karl could only come for the end in Calcutta, but still, it was. Yeah, it was cool. And now I got to figure out how to edit this stuff. And not only do I need someone to subtitle a lot of it, each city was filmed by a different film crew. Sometimes it was an incredibly professional team of like 7 people. And other times it was like a leatherworkers, friends, cousins, brothers, student film person who didn't know had never heard of what lighting was and how to light a thing.
Is this person experienced? Yeah, 6-month internship.
Yeah. They're learning how to do it at university. And I'm like, that's the definition of inexperienced, actually.
Right.
I won't name names, but it was great. Editing is going to be a nightmare, and these people are going to be waiting an awfully long time for it to happen. But it'll be cool. Anyway, we did some cool stuff. Just seeing how, like the rise of Indian shoemaking. Really it's really, really cool.
Yeah, that's one thing that really shocked me was the level of expertise that exists there. I had no clue, and it directly translates into what we are into as well. You know what I mean? In fact, I could grab some. Yeah, a buddy of mine just handed me off some Craft and Glories. I haven't even unboxed them yet. Let me grab these real quick.
Well, Craft and Glory, interesting. I only visited them for a few hours. They're going for like India's like Red Wing Bradley Mountain sort of thing, like they're very like the leather and wax canvas sort of thing. Yeah, that's sort of aesthetic. Yeah.
There's a cowboy on the cover.
He could be Indian. Yeah, he's just
an Indian cowboy.
Everyone's a cowboy in India.
But yeah, he handed me off these Chelseas. This is in a forest buffalo. Yes.
Yeah.
And it looks almost identical to Kudu from Stead. I mean, it's so crazy. It's got that little bit of a dry feel to the touch, a lot of grain character, a lot of really cool spotting everywhere. But yeah, perfectly done.
I'm really interested in it's funny. Everyone always sort of uses the words buffalo and bison interchangeably, and I've been guilty of that myself. And
Yeah.
I mean, you technically can do that when you're talking about American bison, but a lot of the time when someone says buffalo leather, they're actually talking about the Asian water buffalo,
Yes.
which is, and that's what all of up until like last week, that's what all of Craft and Glory's stuff was made from. And they're not very loud about it. I think they should be. I think it should be like buffalo leather, but they're not super loud about the fact that they do say it. They don't hide it. It's on the product page, but they're not super loud about it. But yeah, so all 100% of this stuff was Asian water buffalo, and it's a very different leather to American bison.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have the grain.
Yeah, bison has like that. It looks like a dinosaur
scales.
It looks really cool.
Grain is super cool. Yeah,
and Asian buffalo is I don't know. It's different. It's
they're standing all day. They live in a field. They're not as pampered. Well, and not with the bison. Bison are pretty wild, but yeah, they're gonna get. I guess like flies are biting them all day, so you might get some scars from that.
Sure.
More character to the leather.
Yeah. I get why you think it's kudu-y. But yeah, the tannage is quite.
There we go.
That's actual bison. Yeah.
Bison.
That's really cool. I think the one reason why they're not super loud about it being buffalo leather is that like a lot of people would buy this stuff expecting that orange boot, and then they'd be like, "Why does it look like a kudu?" I don't get it.
Right. It's indistinguishable from kudu by my feeling it and looking at it. If you told me
you had like a natural one or a brown one, because like I've got a Craft and Glory bag back there, and it's because they started the business on bags, on backpacks. And it's got buffalo leather all over it, and it's anyway, very different to buffalo, quite chromy. I'd be interested to see how it performs as a shoe. I hope you can wear it. Are those your size, or is it just a friends that need to look at them?
Oh, it's a friends that I'm reviewing. So I'm not going to put them on, and they're laughably too large for me. I think they're like a 10.5. So could never make these fit, But speaking of their bags, I'm super impressed by their bags as well. Their backpacks are so nice. I'm really inspired by their bag designs, and they seem to be doing everything right in the leather game. Not just their boots, but their bags and their wallets and belts and stuff. Yeah, Craft and Glories, and they're super friendly people too. From what I've...
It's funny about Craft and Glory because it was all water buffalo until last week. So when I was there, it was like the day before or 2 days before. They got a bunch of shipping in of like their heritage or their premium leathers. So now they've got a bunch of CF Stead and a bunch of Halloween and all this stuff, and they're splitting it into two layers, like the premium line and the regular line. But they'll have a nicer word than regular, I'm sure. classic line. So now they're really changing up their stuff. I think they're in pretty close competition with Blackbird actually, as far as. Because they've got a similar thing. They split it into two different lines, and the steady Halloween ones and the classic ones.
That makes sense. Well, one of the biggest complaints we got from my last boot talk was that we talked too much about video editing and production and not enough about boots. So
yeah, I was just talking to you. I didn't really realize that people were going to watch the video.
Just a Zoom call where we're going to talk about.
That's not to say I think your channel's not popular. I mean, I just didn't. Honestly, the only reason I'm able to be on YouTube with the amount of social anxiety and stuff I have is by not actually internalizing the fact that there's going to be thousands of people watching things on the other end. Yeah. I never actually properly processed that.
Good time to bring that up.
Yeah, and then when we did it with yours, I spent that whole. I don't know if you saw it, Karl, but I just spent the whole time talking about content management systems and how to manage video editing software externally, and it was just nothing about boots. Well, I hope we're doing a bit about boots at least on this. I wish Karl honestly had for many reasons that he'd been more on the trip, because I would love him to be able to take the lead on some of these discussions, but he just got there in Calcutta at the end of it. But Karl is wearing in two shoes from Bridland. Are you familiar with that brand?
Not really, no. But you mentioned them. They're made in India.
Yeah, they're made in India. Yeah, they're in Chennai. Do you? I don't know. Do you want to talk about Bridland? Do you know much about it?
A little bit. I haven't done the full research, but yeah, they're got a really cool construction method. You were saying that they were mentioning that it's. So one thing here is like not everyone has Goodyear welt machines, but they need to do Goodyear welted boots. So they kind of combine, and same in Vietnam, they'll combine methods and kind of do a hand welted boot in a Goodyear welted style, right? I mean, if I've got that correctly.
That's what they did in Bridland. So of the operations that I visited, Bridland was the biggest. It's a proper factory. So they do have Goodyear welting machines, and everyone else they do hand welting. You know, they'll say partly they want to preserve the craft, also they can't afford Goodyear welting, or by the time they can afford a Goodyear welt machine, hand welting has become part of the brand and so on.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting about it, and yeah, Karl's wearing in 2 different pairs of boots. Hey, Kitty.
Yeah.
I'll send you this.
I'm listening.
Actually, so you can maybe put it on screen or something. But they really, one of the reasons, a big reason why people like hand welting over Goodyear welting, some of them do, is because it's considered more durable because there's no canvas rib that's been glued on there, right?
Yeah.
So because that can technically come unstuck, and technically it's less durable than a hand welt. That's like a pretty decent argument that hand welting is superior from a practical perspective. For a lot of people it's pairs, for some people, for a lot of people it isn't. But what Bridlin does is like they agreed with that cutting into the insole instead of having a canvas rib is more durable, but they needed the scale of a Goodyear welting operation, so they use a Goodyear welting machine on a what do you call it, hand channeled insole that you would normally do for a hand welt. So it really is like the benefits of a hand welt but able to be made at scale and able to be made a little less laboriously.
Okay.
And the designs are cool too. I mean, I've got the one they sent me is a combination. It's a mock toe, but a chukka. So it's like I've never seen anything like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Roomy.
We're calling it a mucka. Yeah, it's a mock chukka.
Which I was really skeptical. I was like, when and what? How am I going to wear this? But yeah, so far it's been great. It's just kind of fits in with everything. Very casual, very comfortable.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's kudu suede as well, which I want to get some. I want some wear on some kudu suede. I have a kudu suede boot from Rancourt actually back in the US. Okay. Yeah, Bridlin makes really, really cool stuff. And there's a bunch of other stuff that Bridlin does that is really like surprising and unusual. Like they don't use any glue when in their leather lining.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like which means it takes more skill to get the lining on there, because normally and I'm sure you know this, and there's a bucket of glue used when you're lining lining a leather shoe or a boot. And they don't use that, and that requires more delicate like lasting and stuff. But it means they breathe better because you don't have a bunch of glue to get through. You know, and there's like a bunch of stuff like that. Like the way they last is totally different as well. Like they stitch everything together before it's lasted, and the leather.
There we go.
Yeah,
large cement.
Right. That doesn't have the cool like stalactite icicles coming out.
Yeah. Stalagmite.
Yeah.
When I'm not on camera, I'm just sniffing this stuff.
Oh, cool. That's
it's just like twitching. Yeah.
Huffing glue. It's so good.
But, I mean, you can feel the breathability because it's hot. I just wore their hikers here, Cambodia, Malaysia, and then India as well. And they were one of the more comfortable hikers I've worn out.
It's a bit cruel to have Karl working on a boot website when he lives in a shorts only country. It is warm here. But God bless him, he's been putting the wear in. It's just gonna be good. But Bridlin's like just so anyway, Bridlin's really, really interesting. And I think when you hear that they're Goodyear welted, people are like, oh, okay, they're just kind of this Bridlin shoes, yeah.
Yeah, Bridlin. Yes. They don't pop up on my feed very often, but I have seen their stuff. So
the funny thing about them is they built their whole business. It's like a 15-year-old business, maybe 20, and they started out like a lot of companies you'll encounter. They start out doing a lot of the companies in Asia. In America, you're like, oh, I haven't heard of them. They can't be that big. Out here, they'll be like, no, we've just been doing our business in Japan and Europe this whole time. So they're actually very successful. They just haven't bothered going. They haven't gotten around to, or weren't interested in going to America.
Yeah.
So they're just now starting to make some inroads into the American market, but they're like I said, they're pretty established. Yeah, really interesting stuff. And I was like so gobsmacked when I was like going around their factory and just being like, I can't believe I've never seen any of this stuff before being done on footwear. And I think people will appreciate it when the video comes out, even though it's so niche and so.
Those are probably the guys behind the brand, probably the owners.
Yeah, that's Zahan.
Yeah, they're doing really like high-end looking stuff. I mean, it's all.
They're not really a boot brand, so I'm getting a pair of their shoes as well, like a pair of Derbies. But we got a couple boots anyway. But I'm glad I'm doing some business casual shoes from them to give them a fair.
Quite the range, yeah.
Yeah, it's screaming elegance. It's screaming dressy to me.
Yes, they are. But so they've got a good amount of business casual shoes, which I'm sort of getting into a bit lately. So like we did a video there in addition to the factory thing. we did a video on like derbies versus luches, versus Oxfords versus wingtips versus long wings, like the whole business casual sort of lace up space. So I'm learning more about that, and that video will be up I think fairly soon actually because it's easier to put together.
Gotcha, very cool. There's Ticho with them. And
Yeah. He introduced it to Berlin actually. Yeah.
okay, and that makes a lot of sense. I just watched your video with him with iron boots. That was super cool.
Yeah.
I love
Teacher's a cool gateway into brands that are obscure to the American audience.
Yeah. He's
an unusual international man of mystery.
Yeah, he's been spearheading the whole, really niche brands made in Indonesia, made in China, all those, made in India now. So yeah, he's really doing some good work. I enjoy watching what he's up to because he's always up to something cool. So tell me about Vietnam. Okay, so Karl, why did you choose to live in Vietnam? Tell me what it's like being there, because I'm intrigued.
So I kind of left the business in China, wanted to start up my own and expand into Vietnam. So in that industry that I was in, it was a good market at the time. Vietnam's growing, a lot of manufacturing is shipping over here, and that means a lot more for who does, like, I specialize in working with outdoor education for expat kids, so kids who go to the international schools. So that was growing. Came in and did that for a bit. Met my wife here. She's from Scotland, so we got married, and she's a teacher. So that's kind of kept me here working, and had a couple good opportunities to kind of expand my skill set. And I love it. I mean, it's just good weather, lovely people, very simple living. Yeah, it's hard not to like it. So staying here, and also a very cool like crowd. So there's a really neat denim scene here. Guys who are really passionate about it. Guys who make their own boots, because it's the import duties. It's hard to get good kit here, so you can't get it shipped over from America. You're paying 50% import duties. So even if someone were to give me a pair of boots, I've got to pay 50% of that retail price.
Yeah, it's annoying. I'm trying to send in stuff, and it's like, this is going to cost extra money.
But in that sort of environment, you get a lot of people who are building and making their own things, right? And that's cool. So that is kind of the passion that people have, and the ability to just take whatever they have available and make something, build a brand, build cool boots.
Yeah. Okay. Vietnam. So Karl and I, we used to work together in Shanghai in China, and he stayed after I left. And, yeah, Vietnam, it has a sort of a similar profile to like China like 10, 15 years ago, in that the economy is growing very quickly and it's developing very quickly, especially here in Ho Chi Minh City, which is the biggest city in Vietnam. It's not an autocracy. It doesn't technically have freedom of speech. Like it's not a totally liberal Western democracy.
Yeah.
But it is more open than China is in that regard. So it's a bit less totalitarian and dictatorship-y.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I think
you wouldn't call it liberal democracy, but it's more livable in the political sense.
It's odd because I think a lot of people associate it with the war and with that part of history, right? That's when America was the most involved. But I mean, you get it. Yeah, it's really just not that at all. They've rebuilt. They've been, again, because of China's situation, a lot of companies have come over here. It's just fueled more and more growth. And, you meet people who are in sort of like chip manufacturing and development and work with like USAID to build up these industries. So there's quite a diverse population, a lot of Korean, a lot of Japanese people that you get to hang out with, and they all bring their elements.
Yeah, the economic engine is very unique in Vietnam. In that, like again, and this is obviously gross oversimplification, but it has elements of like China's ability to have the kind of rapid growth you get when you are not all that free as a country. Yeah. But again, it is more, it's more liberal than China in many ways, and so it has like a balance of those openness and closedness that lets it grow very quickly without being quite so genocidal as the CCP.
Yeah. And just purely restrictive. I mean, yeah. Because we want to go back to China eventually.
Yeah, we miss China. We're in Shanghai for a few years, and it was it was nice. Like even now, since we left, there's no Google, there's no YouTube, there is no
really.
As guys are living on Google and YouTube.
Yeah,
it's kind of a pain in the ass when you visit China.
There was about 5 years I was working between Vietnam and China, and I had two separate back-end systems that I would use. I'd have to bring a different phone, a de-Googled phone, because you're not going to be able to email people. You'd have to switch over to MS, all Microsoft products, and just pop in and make sure you're using that product.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And that feeling gets to you for a while, and you don't have that here. And Vietnam's in some ways speed running things because they're now increasing the quality. So I think, it's associated where the cheap boots are made, where the cemented construction, where these, not necessarily things I'm interested in, but it's good that you see it. But these factories are now shifting into higher end products. You get salvage denim being made here now.
Yeah. We visited a Vietnamese salvage denim place called Copper Denim, and we did a video there, which is going to be. It was really cool seeing how the subculture lives, how it's put itself together out here. But to bring us back to boots, which your audience wants to do, mine too, I imagine. Yeah, we did. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Akito boots, but do you know? Have you ever heard of Akito? So that is like he is the. There are like two guys in Vietnam who do welted shoes, who do hand welted shoes. And this guy's just really, really, really passionate about it. And again, Goji welting machines are expensive. It's hard to just start a brand for making boots. Not that it's ever that easy, but in here and in a lot of countries, and even in Australia, we have very few Goji welting machines. I think R. Williams owns all of them. You got to go to hand welting if you want to make those sort of boots.
Yes.
Akito.
Is this like a B-roll, Dale, or are you going to put anything more complex? Actually, we actually have.
This is as good as it gets.
I have footage from the. I'll send you footage from Akito boot.
Yeah.
He has a boot on his desk that won. I think it was 11th place or 8th place in the Stitch Down Patina Thunderdome.
Yeah,
so that's like a testament to Ben at Stitch Down. Is like I'll walk into like Vietnam's only boot workshop, and I'll see Stitch Down Thunderdome on the wall.
The whole cut Chelsea's. Those are new. He's just recently been starting to learn how to do that, so it's pretty neat.
Okay.
Yeah. But Karl has a pair of boots from
that is one of his early first gen boots.
People are sort of familiar with how Japan got into Americana to an extent, and there's like a sort of subculture there that gets really into like the kind of 50s greaser aesthetic sort of thing. But like I said, there's also like a salvage raw denim subculture there, guys walking around in like White's boots and horsehide engineer boots and their Iron Heart and everything, and we interviewed all of them. But also because there's a bit of crossover here with the military repro stuff, in this field, I mean, like a lot of guys who are into denim boots, they'll wear like an M65 a military jacket or whatever like that. We encountered a guy who he has a store. I don't know how to describe it. He has a store that sells exclusively U.S. like legitimate U.S. Military secondhand apparel. Old jungle jackets, like wax canvas ponchos used in the Vietnam War.
Those are so cool, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the kind of store where it was sort of like a surplus store, but it's not because it was all used and it was all. But also the main reason it's not like a normal surplus store you'll find in America is this is in Vietnam.
Yeah,
so it's like
properly.
Yeah, so it was a really interesting.
Nice
that would exist in Vietnam is really. So we talked to that guy too. Where's that boot from?
Yeah, this is an American tanker boot from World War II. So it's
all right. Well, that's not Vietnam War,
right? I don't have any Vietnamese era stuff.
Those boots didn't have good reputation, if I remember correctly. They weren't the most breathable for running around in rice paddies.
Right. Definitely not. But yeah, speaking of those old war relics, that's one thing that I've been really into recently is shopping around for that. There's a seller on eBay Philippines specifically, and they go to these old areas where the Germans retreated from, and they find these old caches of like ammunition and gear and stuff, and they just sell it. They just sell it on eBay. It's like that is like
it's interesting. We tried to ask the guy who has the military shop in Vietnam, like, where'd you get it from? And he was very cagey about it. And eventually he said Thailand.
Yeah.
Like it came from from a big barge that came from Thailand. And it's like, and I was like, and where did they get it from? And he's like, oh, I don't know.
Right. I just picked this up from a local guy, Randy, who runs a militaria shop essentially out of his backyard. This is an 1873 French Franco-Prussian War chassepot. This went into a rifle, and it's a sword, but it would hook into your rifle, and you could see where it like.
So it's like a super bayonet.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a bayonet.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's so crazy that you could just buy this stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's out there.
Yeah.
Lately, that's been
has an opaque military background himself, so he has in this of which we will not speak to specifically.
Well,
I have something. Dale, I like it. It's good for you.
Yeah, it is. I wanted to follow in my grandfather's footsteps. My one grandfather fought in Germany in World War II. The other one fought in Korea. no Vietnam, but it's something near and dear to my heart. So I'm always, and then I did 4 years myself in the Air Force, and then it's something that I love. And
then
yeah, there's nothing too sexy behind the scenes.
nothing to say.
No.
Nothing from there. Yeah, there's a lot of the Asia thing is interesting. When Karl started working with me, it was like, great, you're going to be our Asia, our man on the ground in Asia, exploring all this stuff. Yeah, and it's like, and yet, because I knew that Indonesia has like their whole boot scene in Bandung, and I knew that like Japan has their whole thing. Karl happens to be in Vietnam, where like I said, there are two guys doing maybe just one doing welted boots in the whole country. It's like, oh, okay, there's actually a lot of boot stuff, but we did do a video on it though.
Yeah.
And there's a raw denim scene in Thailand as well, but again, there's the welted boot
pretty
stuff.
good boot scene, I think, still to explore in Thailand. I'm excited to get back and
let's
meet
go.
with some people there.
We'll do it. Want everyone who subscribe to the channel because they love American manufacturing. We're just gonna like jam weird Asian anthropology down there.
This all came from the American heritage boots,
right?
Which came from Japan.
I agree. I know it's all related, but I'll have a hard time convincing people. It's gonna be the kind of stuff where like I'll spend just like hours and hours and hours, like hundreds of hours putting together like videos about like an obscure military apparel shop in Saigon, and I'll get like 40 views. And I was like, dude, we're here to talk about the best Chelsea boots. Like, why are you making us sit through this shit? And I'm like, I don't care, it's my channel.
He had some World War II boots there though. We've got some pics of those.
Yeah, that's right. He does have some World War boots. Yeah.
Part of being into boots isn't just boots itself, right? Because people live their lives in boots, because boots aren't just one subject, it's history too, right? That's one thing that really intrigues me. So I think to be a boot nerd, you also have to be somewhat of a historian as well, and have somewhat of an interest in other cultures, because they are built all across the world. And I'm glad that you're doing this Vietnam thing. I really am, because you can just travel and get boots on the ground and go to these really cool places, tour these workshops.
The people we saw in Vietnam and the people I saw in India, like it's welted shoes, and I'm like, okay, but like Goodyear, what was invented, by Charles Goodyear, and before that it was hand welted, but that's like European like tech, right? Like what were you guys wearing?
Yeah.
Before, like this is not actually traditional stuff. It's got its own history of like how it got here, which is I'm also interested in.
Yeah.
They'll be like, we just wore sandals or slippers, and that's about it. And I'm like, but what was the construction of? I don't know. I guess they just stitched it to a
You'll see people with bamboo scaffolding running around in flip flops.
Yeah, does everyone just wear like
that's the way to do it.
But like, I want to know more of the traditional shoe construction here, and further alienate my audience. I think just go to, like Northern Vietnamese footwear of the 1800s. Like I'll just be really putting out documentaries like that.
Right. Well, what's cool about the Indonesian boot scene is they derived their construction from the Dutch colonists, and so that's why you see them doing Veltshone, and that's why you see these lasts very much a German/Dutch looking shape to it. You know what I mean? If I told you this came from Germany, you'd believe me, because it just has that look to it. But yeah, I'm super interested in how all that knowledge got passed into these countries.
I would totally like organize like a Stridewise and Dale's Leatherworks like combination like field trip to anyone who wanted to come, but like the legal liability when everyone gets food poisoning, kind of we get sued for that. Like there's just no way, especially if you haven't been to the developing world before, the global south, that people call it. There's no way that 20% of people wouldn't get food poisoning, and probably 80% of them, and I would get sued. And I don't
right.
Travel company, I know how to avoid that.
Yeah, all right, okay. Sign up below.
In addition to boots, I also wanted to talk about our bodies. See, my body's weird because I put stuff into it and it grows, usually horizontally. But you, Nick, you recently put something into your body that caused you to lose quite a bit of weight. So talk about that a little bit.
Not a big deal, Dale. I just got a little sick in Southeast Asia. You know what happens. We were supposed to have this podcast last week, interview rather, and I got some salmonella or something. So there was a lot of vomiting and lying in bed and being sad. But fortunately, it was out in pretty much 24 hours, maybe a little bit more. But I was nervous because in India, like I said, that trip was very, very densely packed, and it was like 7 days of filming and 6 cities.
Lots of white pants.
In like 8, 9 days. But there was like so much travel, and like I couldn't take a day off to be sick. And I've spent enough time in developing world to know that, you know, you're just gonna get sick. It's gonna happen, and that just expect it, and don't get too upset. Don't feel too sorry for yourself. Like it happens, blah blah blah.
Right.
You know, there's a fatalism about it, but because it was so dense, I didn't have a day to lose in any of here. So I was really worried I was going to get sick at the wrong time. And fortunately, it happened when I got back to Vietnam.
Perfectly timed.
Okay.
Perfectly timed, yeah. But it's funny. It was like when I went to Bandung and saw the Indonesian boot brands there. I was like, I had another very densely packed thing. I had 2 days to see those factories. Then after that, I had to go to Sri Lanka, and there was going to be long, like 8-hour-long drives in the middle of nowhere in Sri Lanka. And I was like, I can't be sick. I've got to eat really clean. So I'm hanging out with all the coolest boot guys in the world in Indonesia. I'm like, oh, we want to eat at a local restaurant. Let's like go. We're gonna show you like a real good Bandung meal. And I'm like, I can eat like steamed chicken and rice, and that's it. I was like, can we have McDonald's or something? Like I was so embarrassed at how boring it was.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I just can't get sick. I'm not being precious. I know it happens. It's happened to me a million times, but it was like I just don't have the schedule to get sick, and I know that's what happens.
Sacrifices for boots. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Go back and do the real food there. But like honestly, the food there was nuts. There was literally an eyeball stew at breakfast time at my hotel. That was the hotel buffet. That was the fancy food. It was a literal eyeball and organ breakfast stew, and I don't think that's even the weirdest thing that I saw on the menu. Indonesia is a very unusual.
Yeah,
it's a
so
weird country,
different from anywhere else.
It's not like anywhere else. I've been to a lot of weird countries, man, and I've lived in more than a few.
The largest country, it's like up there, right? What, third largest, fifth?
Indonesia?
Yeah.
The population is about 270 million, 280 million. So you know, China, India. I'm sure there's a few others before them, but it is still very popular. It's very Islamic.
Large.
It's wild. And my videos from that trip might actually be ready.
And we are back.
Hey. For the record, I thought it would be really funny if the video just ended where it ended last time. And then it was just like YouTube was just like recommended video. Like it was just done. And like no wrap up.
No context. We could have someone with black baklava's coming in.
Yeah. I think that would have been great.
Ends. That would be awesome.
One thing I'm curious about, I want to ask you, Dale. You're a guy who talks about shoes on the internet a lot. How many requests do you get for feet pictures?
Endless. It's endless.
You really?
No, not really.
Have you ever shown your feet on Instagram or in a YouTube video, just by accident or whatever, like changing shoes or something? Weird things.
I think so. I got a comment once or twice from just some weirdo, like, "Oh, you should model those socks," and I'm like, "No, there's too many weirdos out there. Like, I'm not gonna do it." Like, that's
model socks. It's like toes are like the nipples of the feet to these foot fetishist people. It's like you can have like sandals.
Yeah.
You can have like you can go to the top of the foot.
Right.
It's like being in like it's like once the toes are visible, that's what gets them.
That's when
it's like but like if you're like just showing the top of your foot in loafers or whatever, they're like they're not interested in that at all. But like the toes, that's where it goes on for these people.
How about you?
As my understanding of it. Anyway.
You get weird requests like that too, or
sometimes. Actually, the last time I showed my feet, it was when I was in Agra in India, and Blackbird filmed me opening my hotel room door, and I didn't know they were going to be filming it.
Okay.
And I reached out. I was barefoot, and Rosanville Weston K he messaged me afterwards, said, "Dude, you can't be showing the dogs for free." Yeah, show the naked thing like that. But I have in the past. But actually today, I'm scared to look at my phone. Russell Moccasin has like a really interesting AI foot sizing thing. I don't know if you know if you've seen it.
I think
you put it on your you put a credit card between your feet. And then you move your phone around it, and it sizes you. It's all very interesting. And I posted it on my story because I hadn't seen anything like it before. And then I was like, oh no, I just posted all 10 toes, all 10 on my Instagram story. I think I just gotta not touch my Instagram for a while.
Well, you need to start an OnlyFans then and actually capitalize on this opportunity.
Only toes. Yeah, only feet. I wonder if the foot fetishists, if the rest of my body is supposed to be in it, or if it's okay if it's just because if I just saw a boob, like one boob, or like one nipple, like the nipple is nudity, But if I just saw a picture of a nipple, I'm not going to be that into it. You know, is it like that with foot fat? Like I got to see a foot attached to the body.
Yeah,
Why are you looking at me? I don't know. I don't not.
We're all anthropologists here.
I would assume not. I'm assuming it's something of, it's taking a non-sexual object and sexualizing it. So I don't think it's firing in the same way necessarily.
yeah,
My understanding is like
yeah.
the bit
I don't
of the
know.
brain that deals with sex is like right next to the bit of the brain that deals with feet, and like they cross over. No, I'm serious. There's like a hand,
a foot part in your
there
brain.
is. There's like a hand bit of the brain, and there's like an elbow bit of the brain, and like the
Yeah.
foot is next to the genital bit of the
So what's
brain.
that? What's that game that people the surgery?
Oh yeah. Operation.
Operation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Find the
Boots and
yeah. Mine's the leathery boots. Yeah.
Go in there.
Anyway, yeah, for us, didn't you, Dale?
Yeah.
Oh yes, I do. So, my buddy Chris of the Boot Wiki, that's a fantastic Instagram account. Everybody should follow it because he does deep dives into the history.
Oh,
of...
I found that account this week.
Okay.
I kind of teased him a little bit on one of the. Well, I didn't tease him. He said something about boots in this place were seen this way, and I was like, yeah, but when? He was missing a when or a where of this fact, and I was like, this is half a fact, man. Come on, be a good fact thing. He was like, fuck off, dude.
Right.
He was nice about it. He should have told me to fuck off because this fact is half baked.
Right.
Wiki is cool though. I like that idea. I'm glad I found it. I'm glad you know him.
Yeah, he's building it up, so it's he'll get to a sizable following with time. So, but yeah, he had some really good questions. I thought. So, what are some of the biggest things you've learned since you started Stridewise?
Okay, I'm learning every day with this stuff. What did I say the other day? I was like, there was some. You remember this, right? I was like, I just found out that like some kind of
Well, there's the buffalo. We mentioned the buffalo.
There's the buffalo and bison thing, yeah.
was...
Which like I knew conceptually that there were different animals, but I didn't quite get until my trip to India that I just had. Yeah, that's actually a good example. Actually, I knew that they had buffalo. We have buffalo in Australia as well, up the north, and I didn't really know or get that the leather was that different until I was handling Asian water buffalo leather in India, and I was like, oh, this is completely different to bison, and that could be because of the tanning or because of the animal itself. But yeah, and then I remembered I did a review of these bags. What was the name of the company? Kodiak? There's a couple companies called Kodiak, but there was one company. They weren't very transparent about what kind of leather it was and where it was from. And I had to bug them and do all this research. And eventually I found out that it was Indian leather tan in India. And this video is like 3 years old. Yeah. And I'm going like, I don't like this leather very much. Like the design is ugly. It's not, there's too many different pieces stitched together. But above all, this leather is like waxy and grainy and not in a nice way. I don't like this leather. And it was literally, it was like last week when I was in India, I was like, oh, that's why I hated that bag, because that was Asian water buffalo. And it's really easy for that to turn out ugly and waxy and grainy in an ugly way. And I like, it was like concluded. It was like the conclusion of a 5-year-old video I made like last week. It's like, yeah, that's why. Like I'm always learning stuff like that. There's another one. Oh, I'm looking at my my loafers right now. My Lee Stitch loafers. So these are genuine hand sewn moccasin loafers, right?
Oh, cool.
And your viewers may or may not know that most mock stitches on a shoe are decorative, and very few, a small percentage of mock toes are genuine hand sewn moccasin construction. I went to Rancourt Shoe Factory in Maine and took a video on this if anyone wants to see it. But that's what you're stitching together 2 separate parts, and the leather is wrapping underneath the foot like this. Stitches here. So that's like a vanishing art form, right? And it's hard to find people who can do it. And I only really learned about that at like the start of last year. So that was like after I've already been doing this for 5 years. And then I spent all year telling everyone how cool and exciting and rare and skillful and laborious this whole thing is. And then it wasn't until I did a video with TJ Blanco on Alden versus Grant Stone loafers, and we wound up talking about hand-sewn mock construction. The conclusion was, if you want a loafer like Grant Stone's, which is Goodyear welted and lined and made with like top-tier leather, if you want that made in America, you have to pay $700 for Alden. And I was like, well, yeah, but these Oakstreet ones are made in Maine, and they're like under $400. And he's like, and he goes, yeah, but genuine hand-sewn construction and a Blake stitch, that's less laborious and expensive to make. And I was like, What do you mean it's less laborious? I've been telling everyone this is like the most skillful, artistic. You've got to, no one is able to do this. It's like a vanishing art form, and he's like, it is a vanishing art form, but that doesn't mean it's more expensive to make than the regular Goodyear welted lined loafer. It's just like it's like as far as like cost and durability and stuff, Goodyear welted is higher on that level. Goodyear welted than lined. Then I felt a bit dumb about that. I shouldn't be admitting this much incompetence to your viewers. Actually, I'm brilliant. I know everything about you.
But it's fine though, because like the lining, until you glued, you didn't realize how much effort went into putting a lining in a boot, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. You know, when I went to
Definitely. There's a lot of work.
Guatemala a few years ago and made a pair of boots from scratch. And you know what? I think my mistake is after I'd done that, it took 5 days. I pulled it off. It was a wonky boot, but it worked. And
Yeah.
I think maybe I was like, that's it. I don't have to learn anything else about boots. I've made a boot.
Master Karl, yeah.
I've done it.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's like 2 years later, hand sewing mock construction, and then it's like water buffalo versus American bison, and it's insane the amount of things that I will learn. The good thing is that there are some people in the internet content game who they'll generate content about a topic because it has like search volume or it has an audience they want to monetize. And like I'm actually like I'm really interested in this stuff, and so I am always like trying to learn more about it. Like this trip to India about like that Goodyear welt, Bridland's hand welt Goodyear welt thing. Like I was sort of like watching myself as I was learning about it because I was like giddy. I was like, what? This is crazy. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And like they're just cutting a channel into an insole.
He called me. It was
I did. I was like texting him. I'm seeing the craziest stuff in Chennai.
Consistency of a machine, but the benefit of the hand welded, where the rib is sleeping and not standing.
What did I just witness? What did I witness?
The change.
This is insane.
The change of the shoemaking industry. There you have it.
I can't process this.
And now this would get hammered down, so the whole thing is sleeping, and then the weld becomes flat. I'll show you that process.
If you say so.
I'll show you that.
I could not convince anybody outside of this space that was remotely interesting.
Yeah.
But I do get excited about stuff. So the good thing is I am always trying to learn more stuff about it. So I like to think of myself as more of a, I went to journalism school. Like a journalist doesn't have to be an expert on something. He does need to interview experts. Yeah. And that's how I try to frame Stridewise. Like obviously journalists get smart on a topic, and that's why they get interviewed for stuff on the news and panel shows, even, because like they spend time talking to the experts. But no, I think I've got the humility of, I'm not going to say I'm a journalist, but sometimes I use the word reporter. Because I'll find people who know cool things and I'll interview them. I'll know enough to ask the right questions, hopefully. But I try to position myself as more than a host and reporter idiot guy. My strength is I will go and meet people and go to funny places. Like I'll go out and do it. That's and I'm okay with video, but I'm not ashamed.
And these things aren't standardized, right? Like, I mean, it's, we're talking about an old art form, something that's been going on in craft, it's been going on forever. It's pockets of information that you always get to explore, it's,
Yeah, and they disagree amongst themselves.
Yeah, everyone's got their own tech. I'm sure you probably know, Del, right? I mean, you're, exploring this in a hands-on manner.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of ways I look at it, it's kind of like recipes, old world recipes. You go to Italy, your nonna might make pasta one way, and then you go to the house next door and they do it just a little different. And there's no right or way wrong to do it. It's just personal preference a lot of the time.
That's the critical point, is like some people do it this way, some people do it another way.
Mm-hmm.
And the internet unfortunately runs on the web best. And so I think I've fallen, especially my first year or two, I was like, this is the best way to tan leather. Vegetable tanning is better than chrome tanning. This is good, this is bad. And it's like, I know agnostics are a little annoying in a lot of ways, but it's like, you know what? They both have their benefits. And my job is to be able to say what the different perspectives are. Without giving too much credence to an opinion that no one shares, the moon landing and that kind of stuff, like that happens.
The moon landing hoax.
There's not an equal debate on both sides. That's sort of stuff. Like my job is to figure out what is like widely accepted and where there's like legitimate disagreements and why. Because you can't get as a journalist, which I'm not, but I am. I'm not, but I am, and I'm not. But
you're trained as one.
I gotta say, I can't get really strong opinions of this stuff. Even though once again, I pay my rent saying what is the best and what isn't the best. Like it's an annoying balance we're gonna strike. But if I want to be able to have a cool, interesting exploration of this field, yeah, we gotta have the best list here and there. But I think I'm getting better at framing stuff. The point is that a lot of people who wind up on my broader videos, you know, they're not boot nerds. You know, it's just guys who need shoes that they can wear in the rain and
Right.
keep in mind. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's so niche. And one thing that I've really learned over the years truly is you can't convince somebody to be into boots. You just cannot. You could show them, you could explain it, and if they're not oriented towards like fine leather goods, they will never be. Like it's very strange, but it's almost like a hardwired thing in our heads. You know what I mean? Like
what I found is like you can give anyone a boot. Anyone will wear a boot if you give them a boot, and they're like, oh, cool. You know, but it'll just stop there. Like that's the good thing about it. Like I get traffic on my website because like everyone kind of needs a pair of boots. But yeah, that's the difference between being a boot guy.
Absolutely it. So this is a question that you could probably both answer. What's been your favorite country to visit? Doesn't necessarily have to be footwear related.
Footwear related?
I mean, Japan, hands down, Osaka. It's just everything. You can you'll pop into the Red Wing store there. You can get a little Red Wing toy. You can everyone you see, just so many beautiful boots and shoes everywhere you walk. It's people, you know, the culture is into it. So it's not just that you're going to shop, you're going to feel comfortable around other people who care about that craftsmanship. And I think that's just the lovely thing about it. I mean, for me, at least, that was.
Yeah, definitely. These are Japanese made flathead engineer boots straight out of Japan. And I feel the passion. When
I've like never been to Japan. Like I'm pretty good at burning a lot of Stridewise money on something that won't make any money back, just because I find it interesting. Like I'll do dumb things. Like I'll travel somewhere and get a film crew just because I think it'd be cool and interesting. But like Japan is like I've never been able to justify monetarily what it would cost to go there, go to the places I would need to go to, what sort of revenue I would get from the videos or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I just can't quite. It's gonna have at some point an opportunity will present itself.
We'll go from here because it's not so bad from here.
Yeah,
New York is a little bit more intimidating.
No, but then you got to pay for accommodation every night.
It's not so bad. You'd be surprised.
The thing is, like with Japan as well, like I feel like Stitch Down is there right now. I'm not sure what he's cooking up, but what I would want to do the most in Japan is go to like see the denim mills and stuff, you know, and like denim stuff. I'll do denim content on my channel because it's like fun, but that's a good example of like. That's just setting money on fire. Like it doesn't get enough. It's too niche. It's just too niche. I'll do it. It's fun, but that does not pay my bills. Like that's why I can't do it. Let's visit Japanese mills. No trip. I just can't. I want to. I just gotta get one mill to pay for me to do it. But the thing with Japanese, they really care about marketing. They're like maybe. They don't really care. They're like we can pay our bills. We don't need to get a Westerner to come in and do it. Like they're all like they don't have the constant we gotta grow thing, which makes them not really want to reach out to guys like me and say, help us earn more money in this random market. They'll be like, yeah, they're like, this is going fine.
We're fine. We're good. Everyone loves this.
We know satisfaction.
Big customers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's look at Shinky Tannery. They're the same way. They're not looking to expand or
that'd be great. I would love to go to Shinky.
Yeah, just go for it.
I had a friend who has a boot brand. I won't name, but he was like, he has a lot of resources, and he texted me and was like, dude, I'm trying to make a line of boots with Shinky leather. I can't get hold of them. Like I can make like a significant order and make them a bunch of money. I've tried every avenue. And so he asked if I could help, and I went through some Indonesian bootmaker friends, and that got me in touch with the right person. And now Shinky now they've made the sale from Shinky, but like it's or did they? You know, I can't be too specific about this kind of stuff. But it was just really funny, and that's such a common thing with Japanese brands. It's like they just don't. They're not going to beg for your business. You know?
Yeah,
like. They don't really want us, and it enrages us.
Yeah, absolutely. I really want to go to Japan and try their indigo ice cream. They have that in the denim district. I watched a YouTube video. A guy went there, and they serve up indigo ice cream right there on the street. It's like blue, and he said it tastes salty. but I really want to try it.
All right, yeah, salted brownies, salted caramel.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Indigo.
Someone's gonna get me out there. Bridlin has a bunch of business there. I don't know. At
Okay.
one point, someone will fly me out, or I'll just set more money on fire. That's what my business is all about.
Well, you should. You should go. You should go. What country have you not visited yet that you'd like to? I guess Japan.
Yeah, I just decided to Japan. Yeah. Is there a more novel answer I could give?
Right.
I kind of like to do Tuscany. I was gonna say I'd like to do Italy. Satchel and Page they're a bag company I work with, and they remain the best bag leather. I guess I'll say that I've encountered. The design I prefer Kravar in Indonesia for my daily. I use that a lot more, but Satchel and Page's leather it's nicer. It's their leather is nicer. And we've toyed the idea. He's thrown out the idea of me going to a tannery there and just checking that stuff out. Because I got a friend in Tuscany I could stay with, and I don't know. I work with Coyer sometimes, and they make sneakers in Italy, but they weren't interested in me visiting their factory. I think it's really easy for a factory to look ugly, even if it's not. And a lot of brands are self-conscious about that. There's not a lot that's uglier than a tannery, but if they'll have me. And I'll go and make a video about a tannery in Italy. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, we just took my boots and stuff, aren't we? Because there's the denim side of things. Like Scandinavia has like a strong denim thing going on. Yeah. I really want to go to Tencel. Tencel. It's like an alternative to cotton. It's made from like it's made from the cellulose of like plant fibers. It's super sustainable.
Like a rayon.
Yeah, it's like a new fabric. It's crazy sustainable, and in the last like 5-10 years, it wasn't always the case, but we've recently, in the last few years, the tech's gone far enough that we can substitute for cotton in like any context. Like you can make this selvagiest, neppiest, slubbiest, like whatever denim. You can do that with Tencel now, and I find that really interesting. They've got a bit of money. They've got some. Maybe I'll get them to take me up there. I don't know. I've talked to them before, and I think I'll make like a branded video why Tencel is so cool. But there's a lot of stuff for me. Like I'm really interested in like heavy linen. I'm really interested in hemp. I'm really interested in like fabrics and textiles. I'm really interested in the denim mills. I'm really interested in like tanneries. Like there's a bunch of stuff I'm interested in, but not that many other people are interested in it. Like I could not justify the expense. I have a checking account. I have a rent to pay. Like I couldn't quite do it. But
you can
the right brand. There's a bunch of weird stuff that is interesting to me that I would love to explore.
Well, I think if you continue to treat Stridewise as like your passion project, you should pursue the things that like sort of ignite that passion in you. You know what I mean? So I feel like the more niche, the better, frankly, because you're expanding people's understandings of these things and enhancing their appreciation for these things. Because I like getting into the weeds of stuff. I feel like maybe do every fifth one, do like a passion thing, you know?
That is the idea. There's some people that they'll be passionate about something.
Yeah.
They'll make a YouTube channel about it. And like, there just aren't quite enough people who are as into it as you to make a living out of it. You know, it could be a fun hobby. I know people who have been like, I'm really passionate about this. I'll make a YouTube channel about it. And like, you know, it'll be nice, but like they're not going to be able to quit their job on it, you know? So it's like, get the balance. But yeah, we try to do, we try and do a balance of like stuff that people are searching for, you know, best rugged Chelsea's, that kind of thing, you know, best mock toe work boots made in the USA, that kind of stuff. Like we balance that. And again, I'm not totally sure if it's a good business decision or not. I think it is lately, for technical reasons, like searchy reasons, but like also just doing like not one-off, but like doing things I'm passionate about because I find them fun. Like a video about deck jackets I did. Like I got really into that. I interviewed a military clothing historian, that whole thing. And like that video did okay, actually. Anyway.
So what overseas trip was your most challenging, and why was that? And you can both answer this because you're both very well traveled.
I've lost a pair of boots before. I've lost one boot. I've had boots blow out in rural China and had to figure out how to, you know.
Yeah, he's like duct taping his boot together in Yangshuo.
Yeah. You know,
well, that's cool.
Yeah. But,
okay. Craziest travel experience doesn't have to be boot related.
Oh, that's you ask that to a guy like Karl, this is like he's like the most Indiana Jones guy you're ever gonna meet. Like he's got 101 stories.
Cool.
But I like duct taping a boot in the South Chinese jungle. That is the thing that he's done. I'm trying to think of like what my most challenging stuff is. I'm just thinking of times I've gotten sick because I've gone to a lot of developing countries doing boot things, but I have managed to not get sick. The toughest stuff is it's boring things. Like I'll go to a country and film and to film something, and I'll be like, I'll hire a local videographer because I'm not going to fly my New York videographer out with me, and then the guy local guy sucks and messes up the audio or something like that. Like that sort of stuff happens, and that's challenging and annoying. Otherwise, like it's been challenging to get the appointments to let companies get me in to allow that.
Yeah.
But once they've agreed to it, they're pretty all right. I've had a couple where like I've interviewed someone in like and they just haven't been a great interview. You know, I've like traveled somewhere and I'll sit them down and do an interview, try and get a glimpse into their mind, and they'll be it's not their fault. They'll often be nervous on camera or that kind of thing, and like the answers they give just this wasn't
Incoherent. Yeah,
well,
I hear you.
This wasn't quite. Like, why are your boots so special? They're like, I don't know. And I'm like, come on, this is marketing. I'm trying to market your product here, man. Like, what's so great about this? What stands out in this marketplace?
Not all craftsmen are good interviewers, I've found, and
that's not their fault. I'm not talking shit about it. It's just something that at the time I should have been better at anticipating and working with on the fly. And sometimes the answers are delayed by a translator as well. And so by the time I get them, and it's like the whole rhythm. Ordinarily, as an interviewer, I've done media for a bunch of different places over the years in different genres, and like part of the training is being able to tell what an interviewer is good at talking about, bad at talking about, when they're nervous, what kind of questions to ask first, and then medium, and then after to open them up, like and how to do it on the fly. Like that's a big part of doing videos. And yeah, sometimes when there's like translations in between, it can can make it get a good interview. So sometimes I like done interviews and I'll be sitting at home editing it like
this is just not gonna work.
And again, it's not their fault. It's just through circumstances, and people get nervous on camera. Like it's fine. I should have reacted better to the situation on the ground at the time.
No, I hear you. Off the top of your mind, what's been your favorite video that you made that's sort of just fresh, that stands out in your mind? What would you say?
I was going to ask Karl to answer what his favorite video is, but A, that seems very self-serving, and B, his job is really to keep an eye on the website. I don't think he watches that much of the channel.
No, I do.
Yeah.
I just don't have.
What's your favorite video of mine, Karl?
I like the Guatemala one. I thought that was my favorite. I really enjoyed that one. I learned a lot. It's not often you get to see a boot built from start to finish by someone who's a non-expert. I think it gives a lot of appreciation for the craft and the years of experience, right? Because it's so easy to sit for me, I'm sitting there, I'm editing, I'm writing reviews, but I didn't spend a lifetime learning how to build the thing, to then have it criticized by people, right? So to see that from, I think, our point of view is just super important. So I enjoyed that. That was my favorite.
Yeah,
Definitely.
That's my favorite as well. The business, the brand, like nothing transformed the way I do this work more than that. And I'm always grateful to Adelante for flying me down to Guatemala. But I also didn't know if I was going to be able to do it because I'm not a handy guy. I'm like a reporter, dog guy. I'd never used a sewing machine before. Certainly never Gucci welted before. I'd certainly never done any of this kind of stuff. And I had 5 days to do it. And then my ticket was back to the States. And it was like, you better get done by Friday, buddy. Like, good luck. And I genuinely didn't know if the video was going to be able to get done. And it did. And my boot is like so lovingly shitty. Like the stitches are all over the place, and there's like nails sticking out. It's like a 3-year-old's
The heels are like completely.
Yeah. The heel's like huge. They didn't sand it down enough. But it's like so good. The only thing that bugs me about that video is that like the first talking bit, there's like two. I started out going, "Welcome to Guatemala. We're here to make some boots." And then there's like a montage. And then like this is like 15 seconds into the video. It's like me talking to the camera, walking down the street saying, "So what am I doing here? Well, I went to Mexico, I made some leather, I did this, I did that, and then we decided to do this." But there's like traffic and you can't really hear what I'm saying. And I think like a lot of people would have like gotten like 20 seconds into the video, had me being like, "So here's what I did," and just and flipped it off, but it was like a not worth it. When actually like that 20 seconds is kind of hard to hear what I'm saying. The rest of it is just fucking great. I love that video. I do. I
Yeah,
like
it's
it a
really
lot.
good. It's really good. That's a really enjoyable one. Part of my other favorite thing about that series of videos that you did was your pronunciation of Lafargue.
Fuck. Yeah.
For old time's sake, let's hear it, Nick. Let's hear you say it.
Fuck. Yeah.
The most sustainable tannery in Mexico is the claim made by Lafargue, the tannery that sounds terrible with my Australian accent. I gotta apologize for that one. Lafargue is probably what I should be saying.
It does not work.
I don't get it. What's going on?
I don't know why they flew me down there. Lafargue put me to lay on. They knew how I pronounced that word. They should not have put the microphone in front of me. I did. I lampshaded it. I pointed it out in the video at least. But
Yeah, you did. Yeah. You were humble about it.
there's been like a transformation in the last like few years as well. It's just like I traveled a lot. I traveled a lot before I came to America, and the default position is there's no such thing as a wrong or bad accent. There's no correct way of saying things, and I'm now at a point where it's like, yeah, Australians, we really don't pronounce many of our letters. Like there are some objective reasons to say this is a stupid accent. We pronounce less than English people or American, most of them.
Does it ever confuse people that your last name is English, but you're not English?
Yes, especially because I am English, because my mother is English, which got me an English passport, and yet that's not where the name comes from. The name comes from my dad, who is very Australian. And to make it even more complicated, apparently it's an Irish name.
Really?
Like an English guy went to Ireland 1,000 years ago, and everyone called him English, and now the English has all been bred out, but the name remains. Apparently, it's like a very Irish name, so it's all stupid. The funniest is when I'm traveling, of course, and this happens to me every gym here. Because I got to hand in my ID every time I go to the gym, and when I leave, or when I check into a hotel, and Karl witnessed this in India. They're like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "English," and they're like, "I am speaking English." What is your name? Like it happens every time. It's a very stupid last name. Americans like it. I've always hated it, especially because I'm not English. But when I moved to America, I started to not hate it because Americans just think it's a great name, even though I'm not English. That doesn't bother them. They just think Nick English. It just sounds like Ace Ventura. Like it's a real.
Yeah, it's a cool name for sure. Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not English.
So you're Australian. You're not English, but you are English because your mom's English, but the English name comes from your dad, who's Australian.
Yeah, yet I am an English citizen. It's true. So I had the passport before I'd even been there. I was like 18. I'd never been to England. And I got the passport, and I'm about to become an American citizen, so I'm gonna get the trifecta.
Oh, really? Wow! I didn't realize you weren't yet. I thought you were. How does that?
It's on the way. It's on the way. I haven't gotten the letter yet. If everything goes, if I don't kill anybody, if I don't commit any too serious crimes, hopefully I get it in there.
You can always just walk in through the southern border if they deny you, and then yeah. And then you're golden.
First, there's a long line down there.
It's a long line. Yeah, I'm coming through Canada.
Yeah, Canada's
That's Commonwealth.
Yeah. You can just kayak it. I think there's like a
I'll ride a moose down.
Yeah.
Easily. That wouldn't be a problem at all. That's great. Well, this recording is about to shut down on us. So, final thoughts, parting words.
Half your questions were for me and not for Karl. I want to get parting words from Karl. Karl, what do you think about Stridewise.com?
And Stridewise.com, it's great.
Well, let us know the dirty.
Do you have any interesting insights into the website?
Into the website.
That I legitimately think 90% of my subscribers don't know exists.
Yeah, and there is actually some really weird, obscure boot stuff on there. And there is some of the older stuff, especially, is great. It's very charming.
Yeah, when I started, it was just like I'm gonna publish like 2 articles a week, like whatever. I paid a guy to write an essay about a belt that he bought his dad at a department store that broke. My
dad's belt. That is a great article. The Red Wing boots you can't buy.
Red Wing boots you can't buy.
That's a great one. Like I think.
My very first ever thing I did on that website, I interviewed the then CEO of Red Wing Japan. It was the first article ever posted on Stridewise. I think it was like Red Wing Iron Ranger review, but like the first like non-review was why are Red Wings such a big deal in Japan? Yeah. Like I was really kind of trying to do the anthropology stuff. Yeah. But there's a lot of nonsense stuff on the site. But there's like Jake from Almost Vintage Style. He wrote, this is early on. I was like dude, like, is Goodyear welted and hand welting? Like, what's better? And he's like, can you write an article for me? And he wrote this like 5,000 words. It is dense and long, and it's not optimized for Google.
No, it is the Bible of.
It is the Bible of good
Welting.
of welting techniques.
Yeah.
But I just I published it anyway because it is a passion thing, which is good.
I'll forget to do my work, and I'll just be reading old articles for.
Yeah.
Right. That can.
There is some dog shit content as well that I put on there.
Yeah.
There was like 4 Chelsea used to wear with shorts or something that isn't really like.
Oh, actually, yeah, the boots with shorts one is.
And the images, I didn't have any photos back then, so it's just like Instagram posts, and none of them exist anymore. Like, there's a lot of terrible content on Stridewise, but it's we're getting better, and that's what Karl is.
That's
here
what
to
Karl-
help.
yeah,
He's doing a great job.
If any mistakes you find, let me know. You know where to reach me.
Yeah, Karl at stridewise.com.
It's all my
Anytime
fault.
you find something
Anytime
you
there's
hate,
a mistake, it's my fault. So
he's assumed responsibility for everything.
feedback. It's a gift.
Anything ever published, anything I've ever written, even anything I've said in a video,
It's my fault.
that is it's Karl's fault. So
I'm the fact checker.
yeah, that's it.
Well, it's good to meet you, Karl. Welcome
great
to
to meet
the
you,
team.
Neil.
It's great to have you. You're doing fantastic work over there.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely all cross paths at some point. And anyone who likes boots and is coming through Ho Chi Minh City,
Yeah,
come hang out with Karl.
for sure.
I've done that before. I've sent people Karl's direction.
Yeah.
Yes.
When they-
I've always wanted to travel to Thailand and Vietnam and Cambodia and all that. And I hear it is a wonderful place for expats as well. So
It's just so ugly, yeah. Immigrants, really, but it is a love. Everyone's so nice. Yeah,
yeah, it's true. I know. And I'll always say, like, I'll hear guys like Dale say that, and I'm like, great, man, let's set it up. And then they'll be like, I've got a wife and kids, man. I can't actually piss off to Thailand and Cambodia for a month. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. But if ever you do wind up going anyway, yeah, just let me know. I'll come along.
Yeah, I'll be there. Any excuse. There's a guy in Shanghai I want to see about Indigo.
Yeah, there's a dead thing in time. Anyway, we're getting off track, and the video's about to end.
Yeah.
Bye, Dale. Thanks for having us. We talked about book
Absolutely.
stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Next time, more
gentlemen.
books.
I'll talk to you all later. Thanks so much for taking the time. All right. Later, guys.